Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of South Prong Timber. This morning we're going to try to explain the whole harvesting process of clear-cutting timber to replanting to thinning the wood, and understand a little bit more about why we do it, and explain to people that don't understand that when you ride by a logging operation and see, you look at this behind me and you say, oh Lord, they have killed all the trees and all the animals will have nothing to eat, and it's just not, it's not like that. It actually is very beneficial to wildlife. I'm a very avid hunter, and I used to think the same thing years ago myself. Right here behind me is a small clear cut we harvested probably a couple of weeks ago. It looks bad, looks like we've just destroyed the woods, but that's not it. This timber we harvested here was mostly saw timber. It was mature enough, it needed to be cut. It really wasn't growing anymore. And now what'll happen is from this, it'll lay here for about a year. The landowner will come in and he will come in with chemical site prep. He'll come in and let it regrow up some, and he'll spray it, and he'll kill all the hardwood back out of it, the hardwood regen. And then he'll come back in here that winter and replant it in pine trees. I'm gonna move from this one and show you what it looks like after they've replanted. Everybody, I just showed you a clear cut we harvested about 3 weeks ago, and we've actually went right across the woods road to a clear cut that was harvested about 3 years ago. You can see on the ground the stuff starting to rot, the debris, the tops that they left, and stuff that just wasn't a marketable product. They come in here, it looks like about summer before last. They come in here and site prepped it, what we call site prep. They come in here and sprayed it, chemical spray. Probably done this with a skidder. Then they come back last winter and planted trees back in it. So you see, in a year's time, these trees were planted last winter. You can see how they're growing. They come in here with a bulldozer and a tree planter and plant them back. And you've already, even with this growing, you already got a forest coming back again. So we're not just out here destroying the land and hurting the animals. All this stuff's growing back. Now it's been kind of cool, but if you'll look, you'll see grasses starting to come back for rabbits and deer to eat on. There's briars over here coming back up in it. There's all kind of stuff, young tender stuff come up, growing back up in it. And as the years progress, there'll be more and more undergrowth come in it for tender browse for animals to eat. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like 10 years from this. All right, everybody, I showed you the replanting after timber harvest. Now these trees, this is kind of a unique spot we're in. We've got a new clear cut. We've got right across the woods roads a fresh clear cut with trees planted back in it. And right across the road on this side is loblolly that's probably planted 10, 11 years ago. So you kind of see it's gonna look like from where we harvested the timber originally in 10 years. Now, if you see, there's grasses come up in here, but you got more and more pine straw in here shading it. It's shading the ground, so it's choking out some of your young tender vegetation, but you still have it. Because if you look right here, over here, you still have green, lush, tender vegetation for animals to eat on. But what we'll do from here, these trees will grow probably another 3 or 4 years, get a little bit bigger, and they'll come in here and do what we call a 5th row thinning, where they take out every 5th row and thin in between. That's generally what they do. It'll open it up, the trees will have more growth space, because if you don't, with the trees planted here so thick, they'll start thinning themselves. If you keep letting them grow, they'll start dying off, one here, one there, one here, and Mother Nature will thin themselves. We'll leave here and we'll show you what a fresh first thinning looks like. That way you can understand where it comes from there. And then you've got the whole cycle of life of the pine harvesting. Hey everybody, we're over here on the thinning now. This is the first thinning. I showed you the clear cut, I showed you the replanting, I showed you trees about 10, 11 years old. These trees here are probably 15, 16 years old, and we're doing a fifth row thinning. There's a little block right here next to a clear cut, and I thought it'd be a good idea while we were here showing the operation that we show you a thinning. So you see here he went down the row and takes out the fifth row, throws it down. Then he'll dip in between the rows and take out trees. You see the stump right here where he took a tree out. He took a tree out here, and he'll dip in there as far as he can. He took another tree out there, and he'll dip in as much as he can and pull these trees out and throw them in this drag row. And what he'll do is when he cuts the other fifth row out on the other side, he'll do the same thing on the other side. Now this timber will stay here like this for probably another 5 or 6 years, maybe a little longer. It's all according to the dirt and how quick they grow. Then they'll come back in here and do a second thinning. Well, right now I don't have a second thinning to show you, but what they'll do is basically the same thing. They'll come in here, he'll take out the more undesirable trees that won't never make chipping saw, or never make saw timber, or light poles. The more quality of wood, he'll take out the stuff that we missed on the very first thinning. But you can't, when you're thinning, there's a lot of trees I see that should have went, but you can't take them all out because you don't never know in 7 years what's going to happen. Whether you have an ice storm or disease gets in them or something, you got to thin them down to a certain basal area so you won't have too many took out, and there'll be something to come back to. But this is basically what it looks like on a first thinning when you take out the fifth row. Now some tracks, some people want the third row thin. If you do a third row, most of the time you don't take out anything in between the rows. They'll just take out every third row. I've seen fourth row thinnings. Well, fourth row we take out a little bit. But typically it's all fifth row thinning most of the time on most tracks we do. And that's basically the whole circle of life of pine plantation timber harvesting. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode of South Prong Timber, and I hope you understand a little better. We're just not out here killing trees, running off and killing animals, and it's actually beneficial to the land and the trees and the wildlife, what we do. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and please tune in again for another episode.